Well, hello, and continuing on with video about the rapture. And as we saw again in the last video, just to review how Christ told his disciples to go out and preach his gospel to every creature. And it's recorded that they did, that they went out and preached the gospel everywhere. And Paul proclaims that the gospel had already been preached. But then when we see what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 10, we see that what he was saying, that the Son of Man was going to return, was going to come before they had a chance to evangelize every city in Israel. That this generation will not pass away until all things be fulfilled, which means Jesus was due back 2,000 years ago, and that some would be standing there that would not even die before they saw that happening. Well, unless someone left something out of the history books, which is possible, but highly improbable, then we've greatly misunderstood what Jesus was talking about, or the character, I should say, Jesus in the Gospels was talking about. There's a very popular series of books and movies out there that the Christian fundamentalists love to try and scare everybody out of their wits into believing in Jesus, and that they show buses crashing and planes crashing because the pilot was a fundamentalist born-again Christian, and that he got raptured up to the Lord in the air, and so there's just total havoc all over the world now. And there are even services where Christians can go and leave messages to their family and their loved ones, all those that didn't believe them when they told them about Jesus, and now when the rapture occurs, why this internet service will send their friends and relatives that have been left behind emails explaining to them what went on, and a little sermon enclosed there, a little tract type of thing to explain to them how they can be saved too. But is this what Jesus in the Gospels said was going to happen, that he was going to come and he was going to take all the believers out of the world and leave all the unbelievers to a terrible time of tribulation? Is that what Jesus says in the Gospels? No, not at all. Actually, he says quite the opposite. In Matthew chapter 13, beginning with verse 24, "And the kingdom of heaven is likened to a man that sowed good seed in his field, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. And when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, there appeared tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed? From whence hath it tares? And he said unto them, An enemy hath done this. The servants said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while they gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them, but it's both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat unto my barn. I had an occasion here at the house where I had a couple of trees removed. I've got very rocky soil, and I had two trees in the front lawn. One was a maple tree, and one was a catalpa tree. Big beans on it and everything. But being rocky soil, the roots couldn't grow into the ground deep enough, so they're kind of spreading all over the lawn. So I had these trees taken down. They've got to be, good 25, 30-year-old trees. And when they came to chop up the stumps, the fellow that was running the machine evidently had never done it before. I've had trees done where they've chipped up the stump for me, but they've just concentrated on the stump itself till it's ground down a couple of inches in the ground, and left me just a nice pile of sawdust, which I could use as mulch. But this time I went walking out there and found two holes. Two big mondo holes in the ground where he had gone down and he was actually trying to chop the roots that had spread out a little bit and created these humongous holes. And I had huge piles of wood chips there. That I had places I could put this stuff, so I was able to wheelbarrow it around and whatnot and get rid of it. And I again put some topsoil in the areas there and replanted new grass seed. But while this grass was coming up, it had weed seed in it. I don't believe that you can get a actually pure grass seed that doesn't contain any seeds unless you're willing to pay an awful lot for it. But the good grass that I wanted grows very slowly. Meanwhile, these weeds, big hunks of crabgrass and gosh knows what else was growing there, and it spread out. And that's what is talking about here, is let them grow up, because you can't kind of tell the difference with them when they're first sprouting up. Let it get going to the point where now I could go and mow the lawn, but all these the weeds and the crabgrass would grow up in big, humongous clumps, and it'd be just a couple of days where these weeds would be huge, and it would look like the lawn needed mowing again. So what I did is got my wheelbarrow and went out and grabbed all these weeds and pulled them up by hand, put a little more seed in the ground there where the dirt was exposed, and of course had to repeat that cycle because amongst those seeds are weeds again. But you'll notice here is that both of these things were allowed to grow up, but it was the tares that were removed first, you see, not the good stock, not the good stock. If you ever seen people removing chaff from grain, the wind blows the chaff away. The good grain, the stuff you want to keep, stays here on the earth. I don't think I'd want to be raptured.